Hello and welcome. This is James Blanchard, Cisneros, at your service. Today I will be reading the January 7th Facebook post and making a few comments on it, and I trust it will assist both of us on our journeys. Here we go. Looking back at our past with peace instead of pain. The ego has programmed us to condemn others and ourselves for having in the past experienced difficult and trying times. It tries to convince us that we experienced them in that manner because we were bad or weren't wise or spiritual enough. Today we practice reversing the thinking of the ego's world and make the conscious decision to try and see and understand those difficult times as the blessings that they truly were. For many times we need to deal with people and situations in a negative, abrasive manner over and over again to truly get that this is not really us, nor how we want to act, react, interact with others. But it was only because we went through those times over and over again that we finally got tired of their results and thus started looking for a better, kinder, gentler, more loving and self-loving way. And so every one of those times which the ego has programmed us to judge ourselves for were actually steps on a ladder that helped release us from our pain and enable us to reach a more peaceful place. We all deal with times that we're not quite positive with, that we might have an argument with a friend or a family member and feel bad about it, or we might have some anxiety in relation to some issue in our lives. And the ego has us judge us for that, judges us not wise enough, not spiritual enough, not worthy enough. And that's just the ego playing its game. The ego uses judgment and self-judgment as its main fuel. So that's what it has us do. But let us look back into our past and see how such situations that we dealt with in a quote-unquote negative fashion became some of our greatest lessons. And if those became great lessons for us, then cannot this situation right now become a great lesson for us when we have this anxiety or we're feeling bad about some argument we had with a brother or sister? And so let us take an example. Say you live in LA and you're having issues with the traffic, and you get mad because you think there's too much traffic. You get frustrated. You get angry at other drivers. You get upset. And these are the energies that you basically feel within you throughout your journey from work to home or wherever you go. And so you do this over and over again. You start to even get frustrated or anxious even before getting into the car because you know there's going to be traffic, and you know you're going to get mad, and you get mad, and you get resentful of others, and you get angry. You do this over and over and over again, and little by little you start to see that your reactions are actually hurting you. They're not affecting the other drivers. They're only hurting you. And sooner or later, after we've hurt it ourselves enough, we start to ask, is there not a better way to deal with this situation? And we start trying to figure out which way is that better way. And so maybe this individual can start listening to books on tape, or maybe this individual, instead of getting angry at the drivers, understands that where those drivers are at, because they're basically at where he's at. So maybe this driver starts to pray for those other drivers. And when he starts to pray for their health, their happiness, their safety, then this driver starts to feel those energies flowing through him. And he starts feeling good about this. So he starts feeling good about being kind to the other drivers. He starts feeling good about listening to books on tapes, or he starts feeling good about just being generally kind to those around him, even in those tough situations. But you see, the ego would have judged ourselves for those dozens and dozens and dozens of times that we were angry at others or at ourselves or frustrated and would have told us that we're not spiritual or wise enough, and that's why we're experiencing that situation in that quote-unquote negative fashion. But it was only because of those dozens and dozens of times that we quote-unquote failed, or we quote-unquote used illusionary reactions of the ego, such as anger, judgment, resentment, revenge, that we decided that this was not serving us. And so those times, those dozens and dozens and dozens of times, were actually stepping stones. They were stepping stones on the way to figuring out how to deal with the situation in a more loving and self-loving manner. And because we are love, because that is our main energy, that's what we look to align with, consciously or not. And so the ego would have us judge us for when we're not in alignment. But now we start to realize that it was because we went through all those situations that we now figured out that we didn't want them anymore. And that's the way we looked for a better way. And so let us not judge ourselves for passing through those negative times, but let us be thankful for those negative times. And let us be thankful for those other drivers. And let us be thankful for the traffic, because they all taught us how to have greater peace of mind and joy. Excuse me if there's a little outward noise. They're working on the building. And so I'm not frustrated about that. And so all those negative times, all those times that the ego would have us judge ourselves for, the ego would put us down for, the ego would have put down our brothers and sisters for, they were actually blessings that were adding up to this greater blessing of achieving the state of peace and joy on our drive to work. And so now let us bring that back into that process, back into the present moment. When you're having an argument with a brother or sister or family member, friend, or you're having anxiousness towards a certain situation, the ego would again judge you as not good enough, not spiritual enough, not wise enough. But this is, again, just the ego's tools, the ego's games, judgment. Anytime you're judging yourself or others, just remember you're playing in the ego's game. But don't judge yourself. Don't judge yourself for judging others or yourself. Instead, say to yourself, oh, okay, I'm judging myself. I'm judging others. Interesting. I'm playing the ego's game. I remember from my past now that whenever I was in these, playing around with these energies of anger, judgment, resentment, that I got through them. And I got greater peace of mind and joy because of all those times. And so now, instead of judging myself as not spiritual, not wise enough, not good enough, now I'm going to see that this is just part of my sacred journey. That I'm going through a process where I need to be a little bit anxious. And I'll keep on being anxious until I decide that it's not serving me, or it's not serving those around me. And when you do, you will start to look for another way to react to that situation. And therefore you will have less and less anxiousness and more peace until you come to a point in your life where you now have peace in regards to that situation. But again, it was only because you were anxious all those times that you finally realized that you don't want to be anxious. And so all those times that the ego would have judged ourselves for, let us instead look back and see them as gifts that we were offering ourselves to align with our true nature. The loving beings that we are, the peaceful, kind, compassionate beings that we are. And so if we did that in the past, anytime we're experiencing quote-unquote negative emotions now, we now can see that these negative emotions are simply steps on a ladder to get us to a peaceful place. And so we do not judge ourselves or others for that, for the little games that we have been taught to play in the ego's world. We no longer judge ourselves for that. Because now we understand that this is just part of our journey, part of our sacred journey. And that it would get us to peace of mind and joy. But we do have to get tired of the emotions of the ego. The anger, the resentment, the jealousy, the revenge. We have to experience them over and over again until we get tired of them. And then we look for a better way. And then when we look back, we thank them instead of judge them. We thank our brothers and sisters instead of judging them. We thank that situation that brought anxiousness to us instead of judging the situation. And so you see, everything is really happening in our best interest. And our journey is sacred, and every part of it is sacred. Yes, at moments we might buy into the ego's programming and see it as less than sacred, and see ourselves as less than sacred, and see ourselves as less than spiritual or wise, or less than good, or not worthy of peace. But now we understand. Now we understand that every moment is indeed a gift that we're gifting ourselves, and equally so is a gift that our brothers and sisters are offering us. For when they're a part of a process that is allowing us to bring out these illusions out of us, these anxiousness, this anxiety, this stress, this anger out of us, we get to really see it for what it is and what it's really doing to us. And then we start to decide do we want to keep on playing that game? And because we are love, sooner or later we just get tired of the ego's illusions and flow towards love. And so let us be grateful today for every step of our journey. Let us try and place aside judgment and self-judgment. For we now know those are just imaginary tools of the ego. We need them no more. So today when we're anxious, when we're angry, hey, it's fine. We're human. It's just part of our process. And it will get us to a place of greater peace and greater joy. And that is the gift that every moment offers. And that's why every moment is indeed a gift that you offer yourself, that your brothers and sisters offer you, that God offers you. And so when we start to notice that every moment is indeed a gift, that's when we start to live a life of gratitude, of being grateful to our brothers and sisters, of being grateful for ourselves, for our courage to go through those illusions, to go through the fog, to go through the tunnel of darkness that the ego sold to us as being our home. And it's not. It is a blessing that we're teaching ourselves. And when we do, we experience more and more gratitude for everyone and everything. And then we become an example of this gratitude. We become an example of this light. So that our brothers and sisters who are going through that same issue that we went through, now they have someone to look up to, or someone that they see that has gone through what they went through and overcame it. And it could be something as simple, complex as road rage. You can learn from it. You can learn to deal with it in a more loving, self-loving manner, and then you can be an example of that. And you start letting people through, you start letting people in front of you, and you become a light in the traffic. And as you might have noticed, when you're kind and generous to other drivers, sometimes they are kind and generous back to other drivers. And so today, let us simply place our judgments and self-judgments aside. And let us start to relate with our present and even our past with more love and self-love and gratitude. For every step on the journey was of use, even though the ego at the time had us judge ourselves for it. Now we know better. Now we know that it was of use. Now we know that it was a gift that we were offering ourselves and others. And now we know that it's a gift we can offer others, being an example of that gift. Thank you for your time. I love you very much. If you'd be so kind as to like, comment, or share the video, it would help with the listening process, and it might help somebody find this video someday. Excuse me. I am not frustrated by the noise. If you'd like to leave me a comment or a question, I would be delighted to offer a response. And if you can subscribe to my YouTube or Google Plus channels, I would love to have you in those communities. Again, thank you for your time. I love you very much, and God willing, we will see each other tomorrow. Peace.